Sadhu, sadhu. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Ishavasyanidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat yena tyaktena bhunjita ma tasya siddhanam कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि विधिविशेषतं समः एवं त्वयिनान्यतेतोऽस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे असुर्यानामते लोका अन्धेन तमसावतः तांसे प्रीत्याभिगच्छन्ति एके चात्मनो जनाः अनेजदेकं मनसो जवीयो नैनद्देवा आप्नुवन् पूर्वमर्षत् तद्धावतो ज्ञानतेति तिष्ठत् तस्मिन्नपो मातरिश्वा दधाति तदेजति तन्नेजति तद्दूरे तदन्तिके तदन्तस्य सर्वस्य तत्सर्वस्यासभायतः यस्तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि आत्मन्येवानुपश्यति सर्वभूतेषु चात्मानं ततो न विजुगुप्सते यस्मिन् सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्मन्येवाभिजानतः आत्मैवाभूतिजानतः तत्र को मोहक शोक एकत्वम् अनुपश्यतः सपर्यगात् शुक्रमकायमवृणम् अस्ताविदं शूद्रमपापविद्धम् कविर्मनीषी परिभू स्वयंभू याथा तथ्योऽर्थान् ददा शाश्वतिभ्यसमाभ्यः. So today, 9th verse. अंधं तम प्रविशन्ति य विद्या उपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमो ये विद्यायां रताः. अंधं तम प्रविशन्ति य विद्या उपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमो ये विद्यां रताः. अंधं तम प्रविशन्ति य अविद्याम् उपासते. Those who are in avidya. What is the meaning of avidya? In ignorance. Those who are in ignorance will enter the darkest region of hell. Avidya. That means just thinking about I and mine. That is avidya. But more dangerous than that is tato bhuya ivate tamo yo vidyayam rataha. So-called knowledge, culture of knowledge. Words still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. Because when you say Vidya, Vidya really refers to what? One who is filled with the knowledge of Krishna, spiritual knowledge. Taking or misusing the Vedas for one's own sensual gratification. Misusing the so-called karma kanda. That is avidya. So-called vidya, but misused for what purpose? For the purpose of self-gratification. That is why it is said here, a person who is in science, he enters anyhow. But worst are those people who have developed a culture of so-called knowledge. They may be Veda parties. What is the use? When Srila Prabhupada asked, many scholars have come. Who is God? Tell me in one word. And they told, how is it possible? So in one word. We spend hours and hours in discussing who is God. We spend hours and hours in writing who is God. Prabhupada called a small little girl. Asked, who is God? Just one word. She told Krishna. Prabhupada gave us some sweet and told wonderful. So it's a simple thing, just a simple answer, Krishna. But simple answer, but it takes so much of endeavor and thinking that we will give big explanations by quotation from the quotations of the Vedas. That is why it is said here. What is the use of so-called knowledge if a person doesn't know who is God? So that is as good as avidya. In fact, it's more dangerous than avidya. There are so many people who fool others. Hmm? You'll find there are many institutions who speak on so many things. They speak on this chakra, that chakra, kya chakra, what they speak. Instead of teaching Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they'll do so many things. And they say this is the way to live. But how to leave the world? That's the art of living. We think about art of living. It is art of living. How to leave this world is the biggest examination. So the biggest examination, how to remember Krishna at the time of quitting the body. That is more important than just spending the life in developing various types of knowledge. Once I was seeing in the same institution, they were doing some meditation, and there was a background which was played. Just meditate on a wonderful garden, all at close eyes. I was just watching everyone. Imagine that you're going to that garden and sitting. You feel that I'm always sitting like this only. After imagine that you're playing, imagine that you're singing. See that the birds are flying. By the time many of them droop their heads also. So many imaginations. They practically slept. And after some time, they were woken up. How you felt? Oh, very nice. Actually, if you sleep, it will feel nice only, na? So all these type of so-called meditation or thinking that is the way to cultivate the knowledge is a real foolish thing or dangerous. Okay. So andam tama pravishanti. Andam, gross ignorance, tama, darkness, pravishanti, I enter into. Ye those who avidyam, science, upasate, worship, tatha, that, bhuya, still more, evil eye, they, tamaha, darkness, ye those who also vidyayam, in the culture of knowledge, rataha, engaged. Okay. Jambavati, what would you read?
Andam tama pravishanti ye vidya upasate tato
ये अविद्या उपासते.
ye vidyam upasate.
You have to say that very lightly. Ya vidyam upasate. Is there. Kama is there now. Ya vidyam upasate.
Ya vidyam upasate tato bhuya eva te
Yo vidyayam itaha. There avidya you have to
yu
say.
ya yu
This is the
vidyayam rata.
wait. Aditya read.
Hare Krishna. Andham tama pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato
Ya
bhuya
vidyam. Ya
ya
vidyam.
vidyam upasate tato bhuya iva te tamo ya uvidyayam rataha
Ya vidyayam itaha.
rataha
Vidyayam. Vidyayam. There
rataha.
avidyam. Avidyam. Has to be pronounced. That is why that apostrophe is there. Ya vidyam upasate. Ya vidyayam itaha. Okay, Jambavati Mata, you read. You and Aditya will share the verses. 3 paragraphs you read.
Translation. Those who engage in the culture of ness and activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. What still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge? Purport by Shil Prabhupada. Shil Prabhupada ki jai. This mantra offers a comparative study of Vidya and Avidya. Avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but Vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This mantra of Shil Upanishad is more applicable today than at any time in any time in the past. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education, but the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. As far as Vidya is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything, and that forgetfulness of this fact is ignorance. The more a man forgets this fact of life, the more he is in darkness. In view of this, a godless civilization directed towards the so called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. In the different classes of men, karmis, jnanis, and yogis, the karmis are those who are engaged in the activities of sense gratification. In the modern civilization, 99.9% of the people are engaged in the activities of sense gratification under the flags of industrialism, economical development, altruism, political activism, and so on. All these activities are more or less based on the satisfaction of the senses to the exclusion of the kind of God consciousness described in the first mantra. The language of the Bhagavad Gita 7.15. The language of the Bhagavad Gita 7.15. People who are engaged in the gross sense gratification are mudhas, asses. But the S is a symbol of stupidity. Those who simply
Namam Dishkritano Muda Prapadante Naradana Maya Pratyajnana Asam Bhavashita. So about the Mudas have been spoken. 10.15 about the Mudas have been spoken. Okay, read.
Those who simply engage in profitless pursuit of sense gratification are worshipping avidya, according to Shil Upanishad. And those who play the role of helping this sort of civilization in the name of educational advancements are actually doing more harm than those who are on the platform of gross sense gratification. The advancement of learning by godless people is as dangerous as a valuable jewel on the hood of a cobra. The cobra is decorated with a valuable jewel is more dangerous than one not decorated. In the Hari Bhakti Subodhalaya, in the advancement of education by a godless people is compared to decorations on a dead body. In India, as in many other countries, some people follow the custom of leading a procession with a decorated dead body for the pleasure of the lamenting relatives. In the same way, modern civilization is a patchwork of activities meant to cover the perpetual miseries of material existence. All such activities are aimed towards sense gratification, but above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. Thus, the aim of real education should be self realization, realization of the spiritual values of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such realization must be considered avidya or nuisance. And to culture, such nuisance means to go down to the darkest region of ignorance.
So any education where realization of the absolute truth is not there, that's avidya. And so-called educated people, they may think that they are developing knowledge, but it is more dangerous. The comparison is given about decorated snake with a jewel on the head. It is more dangerous than the snake which is not decorated. So the present education has been given a hint just in the Upanishad 5,000 years before. So-called educated society, so-called knowledgeable people, so-called scientists. What is the use? What is the use? Everything is a failure when it comes to the examination called us. The so-called knowledge is not going to come to use. So-called accumulation of the wealth is also not going to come to use. Okay. Aditya.
Hare Krishna. According to the Bhagavad Gita 2.42 7.15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Vedvad Rata and Maya Aparahat Gnana. They also may be atheistic demons, the lowest of men. Those who are Vedavadrata pose themselves as very learned in the Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, it is stated that the purpose of Vedas is to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but these Vedavadrata men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. As stated in Mantra 1, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portion of the necessities of life. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this God consciousness in the forgetful living being, and this same purpose is presented in various ways in the different scriptures of the world for the understanding of a foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religion is to bring one back to Godhead. But the Vedavadrata people, instead of realizing that the purpose of the Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage in the first place, are ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Vedvadratas give their own explanation of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers, acharyas. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Vedavadratas are especially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit word Vidyayam Rataha. Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge, Vidya, and Rataha means those engaged. Vidyayam Rataha thus means those engaged in the study of the Vedas. The so-called student of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Veda on account of their disobeying the acharyas. Such Vedavadratas search out meaning in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books that can be understood only through the chain of disciplic succession.
Okay, 1 minute. So 2.42-43, second chapter, speaks about it. यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्ति अविपश्चितः वेदवादरतः पार्थ नानिरस्ति इति वादिनः कामात्मान स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदा क्रिया विशेष बहुलां भोगैश्वर्य रतिं सतिम्. So yam imam pushpitam vacha. They may speak all flowery languages from the Vedas. The Vedas have some flowery languages. But they are all avipashitaha. They are poor fund of knowledge. But still they call themselves Vedavadarataha Partha. For Partha, they call themselves as Vedavadarata. And they think that there is nothing better than what I speak. But what they speak is only provoking kamatman swargapara janma karma palaprada. That is only provoking the sense gratification. They are aiming to achieve heavenly planets. They want good birth and other fruitive reactions. They want some pompous ceremonies. They want opulence. Their whole life is directed for this. So they call themselves as Vedavadartaha. But actually they are very, very dangerous people. Read.
One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. That is the direction of the Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12. These Vedavadrata people, however, have their own acharyas who are not in the chain of transcendental succession. Thus, they progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. The Maya Aparat Gnana class of men are self-made gods. Such men think that they themselves are God and that there is no need of worshipping any other god. They will agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but they will never worship the personality of Godhead. Such men, unable to recognize their own foolishness, never consider how it is that God can be entrapped by Maya, his own illusory energy. If God were ever entrapped by Maya, Maya would be more powerful than God. Such men say that God is all powerful, but they do not consider that if he is all powerful, there is no possibility of his being overpowered by Maya. These self made gods cannot answer all these questions very clearly. They are simply satisfied to have become God themselves. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Next. अन्यदेवाहुर्विद्यया अन्यदाहुरविद्यया इति शुश्रुमधीराणाम् येन सत्यचक्षुरे. So you have that vidyaya, that is two, that is taken down, anya. Anyadevahuvidyaya, anyadahudavidyaya, iti shumadhiranam, ninastatvichakshire. Anyad evahu vidyaya. So there is a different result for a person who is trying to uh, progress by culture of knowledge. But now which knowledge has been spoken, that you have to see. The knowledge which was told in the previous verse, they are just Vedavadartahas people. Those who are saying that Vedas only for getting some desirous results. And iti shushrumadhiranam. You hear from me. You hear this from the sober first. What is the result of avidya? What is the result of vidya? So one has to hear from a sober person. Then you can understand actually what is vidya, a real meaning of vidya. But there are Vedavadartha people who don't know the meaning of vidya. So now here, how to culture the knowledge. That has been given in 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita 8 to 12. So we have seen this last year. Any of others for newly joined, they will study this. So the culture of knowledge, one has to approach to the bona fide spiritual master. For that, even to get the bona fide spiritual master or accept the four bona fide spiritual master, one should have a wonderful quality. Okay. Jai Janaki Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Read.
अन्यदेवाहुर्विद्यया अन्यत् आहुरविद्यया इति शुश्रूमधीराणाम् येनस्तद्विजचक्षिरे. Translation: The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, that is, a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. Purport: As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, 13.8 to 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. First one should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. Second, one should not pose himself as a religious simply for the same and fame. Third one should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. Fourth one is, one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. Fifth one should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. Sixth, one should search out of a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization, and one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service, and ask relevant questions. Seventh one, in order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures. Eighth one must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. 9. One should completely refrain from practices which are determined to the interest of self-realization. 10th one should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. 11. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. 12th one should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. 13. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. 14th one should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures orders. 15th one should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind.
Okay. This 13th chapter we have done. Acharyopasanam, Amalitvam, Madambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantirarjavam, Acharyopasanam, Shaucham, Staidyam, Atma Vinigraha, Indriyarthishu, Vairagyam, Anahankare, Vacha, Janmratyujara, Janmratyujara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshan. Asaktir, Anabhishwangaha, Putradhar, Grahadishu, Nityam cha Samachittvatvam, Ishtanishtopavattishu. मैचारण्य योगेन भक्तिरव्य विचारिणी विविक्तदेश सेवित्वम आरतिर्जन जन संसदी अध्यात्म ज्ञान नित्यात्मम तत्वज्ञानार्थ दर्शनम एतत् ज्ञानम इति प्रोक्तम अज्ञानम तद 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 अतोन्यथा. So this is what is said here. All the 18 you read up to where? Jayashree?
17, 16.
16. So let us go a little behind. All these things are given. And one has to approach a spiritual master. For that, one has to have wonderful qualities. These things have been spoken. Okay, finish off with 17 and 18.
16
And
also
then-
you have to read, no? One
Yeah,
should be an unallotted devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. 17. One should develop a liking for residence in a scheduled place with a calm and quiet atmosphere, favorable for spiritual culture, and one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. 18. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. Hare Krishna.
So 13 chapter 8 to 12 is how to approach a spiritual master. What should be one's qualities? Why one should approach a spiritual master? And then, because of getting a proper knowledge, what he develops, ahaituki service. That should be the desire. Because he goes to attain mercy. And that mercy is anchored towards ahaituki service. Ahaituki means there should not be any cause. The causeless service to Lord. And there is no knowledge beyond this that has been given. Okay. So Mana Roy, will you read?
Hare Krishna. These 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Except for this, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nascence. Srila Bhakti Vinodana Thakur, a great acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusionary energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. This simple principle is found here in Sri Ishanupanishad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians in spiritual guise decry the present system of civilization as satanic, but unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self sufficient and pay no respect to the elderly men. Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. Thus, Sri Isharupanishad very strongly warns that the culture of naissance is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of naissance only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action.
So
Thus,
this is
there
very
is an
important, very, very important thing. From the childhood itself, the culture has to be taught. Every school is teaching the culture. Hmm. Our
thus there
culture has, our culture has a science behind it. Like why you put bindi? How many Matajis have not put bindi? Put bindi. This bindi is for covering your Agni Chakra. There's a science behind it. There's a yoga behind it. Why you put bangles? Why you put certain ornaments? There is a lot of meaning in it. But because of this modern education, they don't allow children to put bangles. They don't allow children to put even the bindi, no tilak. And then in this way, if they go, then what is the difference between atheistic people and a Sanatan Dharma? Even atheistic people, atheistic followers, like Muslims, Christians, they are all atheistic people. They dress in a particular way, and so-called Hindus, who though they call themselves as Sanatan Dharmas, they don't have any tika in them, in their forehead. All Matajis should have, who are not having manara oil, where is the bindu? Everyone should have. This is our culture. First follow the culture, because we are reading Ishopanishad, where it is spoken about the culture. And if we don't follow our culture, what is the use then? All Matajis. Even Prabhuji should have tilak. Mataji should have tilak and bindi. Okay. Nowadays I'm stressing more on bindi, you know that. How will you, how a person will recognize a person as a devotee? At least Sanatan Dharmi, a Hindu, we don't follow all strictly. That is why our Hindu temples are broken. See, if we don't do this, then on the name of modern education, our children also will change. Protect our culture. Very important. Palash, you should have bindi on your head, forehead. Okay. Read.
Hare Krishna. Thus, Thus, there is enormity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to the cultivation of nations by the general people. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. In comparison to the vastness of the space, these material lumps are like dust particles in the air. because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves. They are perfectly equipped with all the necessities for floating in space. The drivers of our spaceships may be very proud of their achievements, but they do not consider the supreme driver of this greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. There are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems also, as infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. We small
So,
creatures are
so who
trying.
is the Jiva? Who is the Jiva? Jiva is just an infinitesimal. Lord is infinite. No, no beginning, no end. We are just infinitesimal, part and parcel. Okay, read.
As infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. The span of human life is scheduled for about 100 years, although it is gradually decreasing to 20 or 30 years, thanks to the culture of naissance. Befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grasp sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years. Such foolish people draw up various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. Yet, for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge, yet, people are falsely proud of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge. Sri Ishanupanishad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instruction as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from a Dhira. A Dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. Adhyara realizes that the material body and mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain. The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. Actually, it is the living souls, the part and parcels of the supreme living being who move the world. The Dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of nascent education. One can become a Dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, become a Dhira by submissively hearing from Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead himself. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is the process of learning Vidya, knowledge from the Dhira, the undisturbed. An Adhira, one who has not undergone the training of a Dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as Dhiras are actual Adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of the people to the right path of self
So,
realization?
who is the Dhira? One who has perfect control over senses. Then only he can give knowledge. If he has no control over senses, what will happen? That is why about the Dhira as we spoken as Dehinosmin Deha Kaumaram Yovanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Prapti Dhiras Tatranamahyati, who sees the change in the body right from the child. But the soul never dies. Dehinosmin Deha. Dehi has occupied the Deha, which undergoes different changes. That is how when it is old age, when the body is unfit to stay, the soul changes from one body to another body. So it's a dhira, one who is sober, is tolerant. So one who is tolerant and sober can impart knowledge. One who's adhira can never impart knowledge because he is struggling with his own mind, his mental activities. Okay.
Thus, one must hear submissively from a dhira in order to attain actual education. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So there's two words which is known as Anishta Nivrutti Ishta Siddhi. Write these two words. This verse speaks about Anishta Nivrutti, trying to get away from the things which I don't want. And then, see from 9, we are started from 9, isn't it? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. These 6 verses speak about the knowledge and speak about even the different paths of knowledge. And they also speak about the absolute and the relative truth. So these are all the things which is spoken. So there's something known as Anishta, Nivrutti. I don't want, so I want it. I just want to get rid of it. Ishta Siddhi, whatever I like, I should get it. That is why a person tries to develop a knowledge. They think that Vedavadarataha, they think that let me get some siddhis. They try to do lot of tapasya, some siddhi, ishta siddhis. And then I don't like certain things, anishtas, and then I just want to be nivritta. So the purpose of the knowledge is not for this. The purpose of the knowledge is not for getting rid of some material obstacles or material miseries and get some siddhis. That's not the purpose of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to connect oneself with the Lord. And for that, one has to go to Acharya. Acharya, Upasanam, Shaucham, Sairyam, Atma, Vinigraha. So, who is an Acharya? Who has seen Janma, Murti, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Darshanam? He has seen the truth. So, in this way, to develop that ahaituki bhakti towards Lord, ananya bhakti towards Lord. That ananya bhakti can be achieved only when a person serves under the direction of the spiritual master. So let us see now. 11th verse. Vidyam cha yodyam cha yastathet vedobhyam saha vidya mrityum tirtva jayam samashrute. Vidyam cha yastad vedobhyam saha avidya mrityum tirtva Vidyamritamashrute, Vidyam, knowledge in fact, cha, and avidya, the science, cha, and yaha, a person who, that, Veda knows, Ubhayam, both, saha, simultaneously, avidya, by culture of the science, Mrityum, repeated death, Tirtva, transcending, Vidya, by culture of knowledge, Amritam, deathlessness, Ashrute, enjoys. Only one who can learn the process of science and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So, a person should know both. Then only he can appreciate the knowledge. He can appreciate the knowledge when he understands the influence of the science. If he doesn't know what is the science, he doesn't know what is the influence of the science, he will never understand or appreciate the knowledge which he gets from the Dhira Purusha. See, 9th verse also spoke about some knowledge, but that knowledge is so-called knowledge. 10th verse speaks about the right knowledge which is got by got from a Dhira Purusha. So when you get a knowledge from Veera Purusha, simultaneously you should know the nature of this world. The nature of the world is science. That is avidya. What is avidya? To know about that, and then understanding then what is vidya, then appreciation can happen, and simultaneously one will be very safe to deal with the subjects of the science. You will know how to deal, how to tackle. Because every time you cannot be with the association of devotees, you have to come to the place where there are different types of people. And you cannot develop hatred towards them at the same time. Compassion has to be shown, but on the right platform. The person full with science can be your nearest relative or nearest friend. Then will you show some hatred towards them? Will you avoid them? So you have to be very tactful with them. Like you say, Namo Brahman Devaya, Go Brahman Prajagadikai, Krishna Govindaya Namo. When you feed Lord, isn't it? My sister was chanting, but she follows different types of gurus. Some Sadgurus, and this guru, that guru. Then I told her, this is simple word, wonderful mantra. So this is the mantra where the feeding happens. Bhoga is given. So we tell Aham Brahmasmi, which is highly misunderstood. She didn't understand what I wanted to tell. So it happens. Your own people will be there in the time. But you cannot just avoid them, isn't it? You have to give them knowledge slowly, slowly. So Lord and the individual. Right? Lord is an individual, soul is also an individual. There is the individual relationship between every jiva with the soul, with every jiva with Lord. That means every jiva has an individual relationship with Krishna. So what is nescience? Nescience is first is not accepting Lord, that is nescience. Considering Lord to be a product of Maya, nescience. Considering oneself to be Lord, nescience. So in this way, nescience means avidya. Avidya means ignorance, where the acceptance of Lord as a master is not known. So what happens? Side by side we should know, so that one can transcend the repeated birth and nature and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Your appreciation is there for the knowledge of God. So every day we should appreciate. We have got a wonderful shelter of Srila Prabhupada, who is giving us the right knowledge. When you go to the outside world, it's so horrible. But under the shelter of Prabhupada, even in the other side of our land, there are people who are chanting, who wake up early in the morning. So that is Vidya. Okay? Gita, read. Gita and Pushpa will share the verses.
Hare Krishna.
If it's a big verse, then we also will share.
Vidya cha yastadvedobhayam saha avidyaya mrityam tirtva vidyamridamashnude. Translation.
Wait.
Only one
Vidyayam. Vidyayam mritamashnute cha avidyam.
avidyaya mrityam tirtva vidyayamridamashnude. Translation. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Purpose. Since the creation of the material world, everyone has been trying to attain a permanent life, but the laws of nature are so cruel that no one has been able to avoid the hand of death. No one wants to die, nor does anyone want to become old or diseased. The law of nature, however, does not allow anyone immunity from old age. This is our law. Nor has the advancement of material knowledge solved these problems. Material science can discover the nuclear bomb to accelerate the process of death, but it cannot discover anything that can protect man from the cruel hands of old age, disease, and death. From the Puranas, we learn of the activities of Hiranyakashipu, a king who was very much advanced in material, wanting to conquer cruel earth by his material acquisitions and the strength of his missiles. He underwent a type of education
Your
sought.
voice is not coming very clear. I think next Pushpa can read. Pushpa, read.
Hare Krishna. From the Puranas, we learn of the activities of Hiranyakashipu, a king who was very much advanced materially. Wanting to conquer cruel death by his material acquisitions and the strength of his nations, he underwent a type of meditation so severe that the inhabitants of all the planetary systems became disturbed by his mystic powers. He forced the creator of the universe, the demigod Brahma, to come down to him. He then asked Brahma for the benediction of becoming Amar, by which one does not die. Brahma said that he could not award the benediction because even he, the material creator who rules all planets, is not Amar. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 8.17, Brahma lives a long time, but that does not mean he is immortal. Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. This cunning gentleman, Hiranyakashipu, was interested in these two things, money and women, and he wanted to enjoy them by becoming immortal. He asked from Brahma many benedictions in hopes of indirectly fulfilling his desire to become immortal. Since Brahma told him that he could not grant the gift of immortality, Hiranyakashipu requested that he not be killed by any man, animal, god, or any other living being within the 84 lakh species. He also asked that he not die on land, in air, or water by any weapon. In this way, Hiranyakashipu foolishly thought these guarantees would save him from death. Ultimately, however, although Brahma granted him all these benedictions, he was killed by the personality of Godhead in the form of Narsimha, the Lord's half lion, half man incarnation. And no weapon was used to kill him, for he was killed by the Lord's nails, nor was he killed on land, in air, or water. He was killed on the lap of that wonderful living being Narsimha, who was beyond his conception. The whole point here is that even Hiranyakashipu, the most powerful of materialists, could not become deathless by his various plans. What then can be accomplished by the tiny Hiranyakashipus of today, whose plans are thwarted from moment to moment? Sri Ishopanishad instructs us not to make one-sided attempts to win the struggle for existence. Everyone is struggling hard for existence, but the laws of material nature are so hard and fast that they do not allow anyone to surpass them. In order to attain a permanent life, one must be prepared to go back to Godhead. The process by which one goes back to Godhead is a different branch of knowledge, and it has to be learned from revealed Vedic scriptures such as Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. To become happy in this life and attain a permanent blissful life after leaving this material body, one must study the sacred literature and obtain transcendental knowledge. The conditioned living being has forgotten his eternal relationship with God and has mistakenly accepted the temporary place of his birth as all in all. The Lord has kindly delivered the above mentioned scriptures in India and other scriptures in other countries to remind the forgetful human being that his home is not here in this material world. The living being is a spiritual entity and he can be happy only by returning to his spiritual home. From his kingdom, the personality of Godhead sends his bona fide servants to propagate this message by which one can return to Godhead, and sometimes the Lord himself comes to do this work. Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge, and a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradhamma, the lowest of human beings. The path of avidya or advancement of material knowledge,
Naradhama. Even though he has
Naradhamma,
got, an opportunity, he is not taking advantage. 4 types of people will not come in that Naradhama. Maya Pratyajnana comes next, but Namam Pushitru Mura, Prapadante Naradhama. Okay, read.
the path of avidya or advancement of material knowledge for sense gratification is the path of repeated birth and death. As he exists spiritually, the living entity has no birth or death. Birth and death apply to the outward covering of the spirit soul, the body. Death is compared to taking off, and birth to putting on of outward garments. Foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya, nascence, do not mind this cruel process. Enamored with the beauty of the illusory energy, they undergo the same miseries repeatedly and do not learn any lessons from the laws of nature.
Okay, till here. Now, Saurabh Prabhu, you read. Saurabh is there. Saurabh is not there. Okay. Anuj Kamkar Prabhu, you read. Anuj.
Mother, I'm traveling. I can't read, Mother.
Okay. Anika Tiwari, can you read?
Yes, Mataji.
Read.
Therefore, the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge is essential for human being. Sense enjoyment is the diseased material condition must be restricted as far as possible. Unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. The living entities are not without spiritual sense. Every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses which are now materially manifested, being covered by material body and mind. The activities of the material senses are perverted reflections of all of the activities of the original spiritual sense. In his diseased condition, the spiritual soul engages in material activity under the material covering. Real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. In our pure spiritual form, free from all material contaminations, real enjoyment of the senses is possible. A patient must regain his health before he can truly enjoy sense pleasure again. Thus, the aim of human life should not be to enjoy perverted sense enjoyment, but to cure the material disease. Aggravation of material disease is no sign of knowledge, but a sign of avidya, ignorance. For good health, a person should not increase his fever from 105 degree to 107 degrees, but should reduce his temperature to the normal 98.6. That should be the aim of human life. The modern trend of material civilization is to increase the temperature of the feverish material conditions, which has reached the point of 107 degrees in the form of atomic energy. Meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that at any moment the world may go to hell. That is the result of the advancement of material knowledge and the neglect of most important part of life, the culture of spiritual knowledge. Sri Ishopanishad herein warns that we must not follow that this dangerous path leading to death. On the contrary, we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may become completely free from the cruel hands of death. This does not mean that all the activities for the maintenance of the body should be stopped. There is no question of stopping activities, just as there is no question of wiping out one's temperature altogether when trying to recover from a disease. To make the best use of bad bargain, this is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the health of body and mind. Therefore, maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach our goal. The normal temperature should be maintained at 98.6 degrees, and the great sages and saints of India have attempted to do this by the balanced program of spiritual and material knowledge. They never allow the misuse of human intelligence for diseased sense gratification. Human
Okay,
activities
okay. So here two times about the temperature has been told. Maintain your temperature. That means whatever facility Lord has given to us, just take advantage of that facility and make the best use of the bad bargain. And here we have again come back in this material life. So use that best best advantage. Take best advantage of the human body what we have got. Okay, dear, read from here.
Hare Krishna. Human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated in Vedas under the principle of salvation. This system employs religion, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. But at present moment, people have no interest in religion or salvation. They have only one aim in life, self gratification, and in order to achieve this end, they make plans for economic development. Misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death in heaven, there is some system of religious observance. But this is not the purpose of religion. The path of religion is actually meant for self realization, and economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize Vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like an ass or for culturing avidya for sense gratification. The path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire into absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized step by step as Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. The absolute truth is realized by the broad minded man who has attained knowledge and detachment by following the 18 principles of the Bhagavad Gita described in the purport to Mantra 10. The central purpose of these 18 principles is the attainment of transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Therefore, all classes of men are encouraged to learn the art of devotional service to the Lord. The guaranteed path to the aim of avidya is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, which we have presented in English as the nectar of devotion. The culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.14 in the following words. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagwan satvatam pati shrotya
Shotavya
Nityascha
chittavya पूज्यश्च नित्यदा.
Nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotee. Unless religion, economic development, and sense gratification aim towards the attainment of devotional service to the Lord, they are all simply different forms of nuisance, as Sri Ishopanishad indicates in the following mantras. Hare Krishna.
तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् साततां श्रोतव्य कीर्तव्यश्च ध्येय पूज्यश्च नित्यदा. This is actually Vidya. These are the only four activities for which Lord appears. Lord appears to teach what is Shotavya, hearing about him, what is Kirtitavya, chanting about him, how to meditate upon him. Teya, Shotavya Kirtitavyascha, Dheya, Pudyascha, how to worship him. So unless religion, economic development, sense gratification aim towards attainment of devotional service, they are simply different forms of the science. So this is the topic actually. What is knowledge? What are different types of the science? So it started with the practically with the ninth verse. From the ninth, 10th, 11th, we have seen these types of knowledge, so-called knowledge also, Vedavata, knowledge attained from a Dhira Purusha, and then what is the science? All these things we have studied. Now, somewhere it is similar also is 12th, 13th, and 14th. So you can study at home also. On Monday, we'll take. Friday, I'll not be keeping class. Friday, I have to do Hindi portion. Monday, we'll have class. Okay. So till the time, read 12, 13, 14th verse. You'll find some similarity. Okay. Any questions? No questions. Okay, Jambavati has questions. Then
Mataji, in the previous verse, not this, the other one, where the Vedantis have been, Vedantis are being condemned, that they have the knowledge of Vedas, but still their knowledge take them to the darkest region of ignorance. But sometimes, in the lectures also, and I have not read the scriptures very well, but some of the verses I have read Bhagavad Gita long back, wherein the Vedantis are, they are. Called, or they it has been said that they do gradual process. They read the Vedas, and by studying the Vedas, they gradually progress to the spiritual platform, or spiritual platform of
yes.
spiritual knowledge, or self realization. So I was like, I had a little bit confusion that why in this verse it has been so strictly condemned, Vedantist, or the person who read the Vedas.
How will you know that he has attained the topmost realization? And that too by the path which he was following. For a Vedantist to attain self-realization, he has to come in contact with a devotee. And then he will attain. Yes, he has anyhow. He can control the mind and senses. But then, if he is not able to understand the real meaning of what is Vedanta, where logics end, bhakti begins. What is bhakti can be understood only in association with the bhakta. Bhakta Bhakti Bhagavan.
Okay.
So thinking that they are Vedantis, but here they are condemned. Here they are condemned till they don't accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The moment they start accepting the Lord, then why condemn them?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Tanvat Pranam.
Anyone else? So here we'll stop. Monday we'll meet. Monday is what is the date? Monday, 12th. So
Thank you.
12th class will be there. 14th class will be there. And then directly after 27th. Because in between we have Lakur Yatra. Then I'm called in Bahrain for giving a class. So 4 days visit over there. By the time I come, it will be 25th. I have to, we have the Satya Janmashtami. So 20, what is 27? What is 27? 27th we cannot have a class. 25th is Sunday, I think. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 28th we'll have direct class. Okay. So you can put the class schedule now. 12, 14, then 28th of this month. 25 Sunday, right? 25 is 27. 28th is Wednesday. So just type it Aditya so that I must remember. 12, 14 and 28.
Okay, Manager. Hare Krishna.
By the time we try to complete the portion, we are done. We cannot complete the portion now because we have how many verses? 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we can complete. By this month, we will be completing Ishopanishad. So you have a nice time for Nectar of Devotion. That is September, October, November, December. We'll have exam in December. From January onwards, Bhagavad Gita study for the new batch. Okay. And for the world, we have Bhakti Vaibhav, which starts. Okay, stop here. Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo Vaishnavibhyo Prabhupada ki jai. In the